Ultimate Collectibles here with a 2-for-1 today. 3 fat guys sitting around. We have Nom Nom, Chubby Wolverine to my left, myself in the middle, and Fat Pool here on the right. We're going to review both of these guys at the same time. Well, not at the same time, but in the same review. So let's do it. A little bit of background about these guys. These guys are made by CO Signature Collectibles. Great company, very reliable. I never heard of them until these pieces started coming out, but they do. They have other pieces besides the line of Fat Boys out there. They first released Nom Nom Chubby Wolverine. I want to say it went up for PO about a year ago. And then about 6 months ago they started delivering. Unfortunately, I did miss out on the first batch. These pieces are relatively cheap, and the company, I believe, gives a portion of the profits to charity, which is really cool. Both are about an edition size of 150. Since I missed out on Wolverine, they both retail for between $300 and $400 plus shipping. Since I missed out on Wolverine, I had to buy him on the second-hand market, and he is very difficult to get, so I paid dearly for him. But I'm very glad that I got him, and I was able to purchase Fat Pool when it went up for PO as well, who cost the normal $300 to $400 retail plus shipping. And then they just released a teasers of a new piece that I am very excited to get as well. But both arrived from China, standard boxing. They do have an art box with them. They both have very few pieces to them. It's very easy to put together. I think the only switch out is actually on Fat Pool, which I didn't even keep because I like the lollipop, but I do believe he has another switch out left hand there, and I think he picks his nose with it, but it's still in the box and I didn't want to dig it up because I have an Indiana Jones warehouse full of boxes. So both very cool characters, very cool concepts, and very cool company doing them. So the concept and design of Wolverine is awesome. So it's a very simplistic base, and you have a few hamburgers, and I think one of them, I thought one was movable. Maybe I left it somewhere, or maybe one of my kids ate it. So it's a very simple black base with some hamburgers on top. The hamburgers have lettuce, tomato, cheese, and beef on them. And then Wolverine himself I love the fact that he has tiny little feet to show that he was a small person. I don't know what scale these are supposed to be. Someone said 1/6, but that doesn't really make sense, especially with Deadpool, as he's much smaller. But I love how his clothes are completely stretched out. Obviously, it's a beer belly. The stripes on his uniform are barely containing his little outside underwear is about to snap off. The fact that he has his mouth wide open, he's ready to consume more deliciousness. That's a word, and it's not the name of a stripper. Kind of funny, I have my company party, I have 150 people coming tonight, and I posted deliciousness as one of the things, and everyone thought that there was going to be a stripper there named Deliciousness. Kind of interesting. He has a burger, his claws through a burger on one hand. The other hand is Magneto's helmet, completely full of ice cream. What a cool concept. I just wonder who thought this up, and they designed it very well for a Nom Nom Chubby Wolverine. This is exactly what I would picture. I really enjoy how they nailed this concept. Concept and design on Deadpool, I don't know what they were going for. And again, I don't mean that in a demeaning way, but let me kind of just walk through it. So the bottom base, they have the same black base they had for Wolverine, although it is much larger. And then on top of that, they have this clear resin, and inside of that are pebbles and some goldfish. So it looks more like an aquarium than it would a lake, but I would speculate they were going for the lake effect. But it's done very well, and it's very well executed. And then you obviously have the rubber ducky, and we all know Deadpool's a little crazy. I love Sideshow's original Deadpool, that the chicken has dynamite up his butt, and for that reason alone, that statue is worth buying. I don't have it. I have the gray one and 4 or 5 other Deadpools, but so you have the rubber duck, which is weird and strange, and not only do you have the rubber duck, but he has same facial markings as Deadpool around his eyes. He looks alive, which means he would be twice the size of Deadpool, and Deadpool's already fat. And then he has straps on him just like Deadpool would. So maybe he's Deadpool's horse or mascot in the water. Again, I don't know from the creative standpoint what they were going for, but it's a crazy Deadpool statue, and if that's what they were going for, they pulled it off. Deadpool himself, one of the things I don't like is how much smaller he is than Wolverine. With this being the same line, you would have thought they would have stuck to the same scale, especially when the base is actually a little bit bigger than Wolverine, then the figure himself is smaller. However, with that being said, I love the concept they have for Deadpool. So in the back, he has his hand sticking down his pants, which is classic. A little green stain of God knows what. I don't know if it's a booger or anything. Just like Wolverine, they have the very small feet going into the very large cankles and eyes, and then a beer belly overhanging. And he's going to town on a lollipop, yet he still has all of his accessories. He has his gun, he has his swords, he has his pouches with ammunition or grenades or whatever he would have in there. And he has the classic Deadpool logo on his belt right above the duck's ass. So very cool concept and design. I don't know what they were going for, but I think they hit it. So sculpture on both of them, I think they did a very good job. I think, you know, obviously with the base there's nothing to it. The burgers are pretty basic, but even a little sesame seed at the top is sculptured in, along with the lettuce and the tomato and the cheese on the side. It's not just paint, it's actually sculptured. A little bit of texture to the burgers. On Wolverine, they went all out with texture. And I do like texture, but this is a tiny bit too much, but they were still able to show the folds in his uniform and on his costume. I like how, as I talked about during the concept, he has tiny little feet and it just gets bigger and bigger and fatter, and it's obviously a huge beer belly. It almost makes his outside underwear, I don't even know what you call that, look like a G-string. And then he has folds in it right below his man boobs. And then his face. There's not a lot of texture on his face. They did a good job with the stubble on his chin, but there's really no cheekbones, but obviously someone this fat, there probably wouldn't be, so it's probably exactly what it's supposed to be. They did a good job with the texture on his arms, showing his arm hair. And then I like the layers in his gloves that they created as well. So sculpt, very, very cool. You know, one of the difficult things about evaluating the sculpt on these is we don't know what it's supposed to look like, because no one's ever seen a Wolverine that weighed 300 pounds. So the sculptor and the creative team behind this pretty much had the freedom to do whatever they want, and no one can look at it and say, oh, that's incorrect, that's inaccurate, it wouldn't look that way. But I like it a lot. I like the fact that he has no neck either. They didn't have to sculpt that because someone this fat wouldn't have a neck. So sculpt on this one, the base again, very, very simple. The water, there's actually a lot of detail on the fish in there that you can barely see. Or it appears to be a lot of detail. I guess I don't know because you can't really see it. The duck is pretty flat, but a rubber ducky, if this is a rubber ducky, would be. I like how they incorporated the straps on it, but it's really basic. Deadpool is a great sculpt. Again, small feet growing large. Even the sculpt where he's putting his hand down his pants is neat. The beer belly, the way it overflows. I like the variations in his costume and how it's textured well. They still managed to get that tiny little flap on the top of his head that most Deadpool characters have. His straps and utility pouches look great, like real leather. Then you have his swords on the back. Again, they look good as well, sculpted right in there. They still manage a little bit of musculature in his arm, which some fat people still have muscles, I know. I even like some of the detail they have in his boots. And you can still kind of see a little bit of his fat knees above his cankles. And then his mask, really they only had to sculpt a tiny little nose around the eyes there. And then he has texture just like Wolverine, but it's not all over, it's not overpowering like Wolverine is. And there's a few ripples in his suit, which is sculpted in well. Paint on Wolverine. The paint's good. It's very basic. So when I say basic, first of all, there's only a few colors, and they didn't really try and you know, go too hard to mix it in with some other colors. Starting with his boots, gloves, and underwear, it's all the same. It's this dark blue with some mixed in black there to still maintain the texture. There's a yellow with almost shades of orange within his suit. And I think the shades of orange are always where there's creases in his suit, so it's made to help exemplify those areas. They got the black on his arm hair, obviously, and the colors on the burger, pretty easy to do. Nothing extraordinary, a little bit flat on the burgers, the paint. His face, there's one or two flesh tones within his face, and then the white and red on his tongue. I do like the way they painted right around his mouth. It looks good. And then obviously Magneto, I like this type of Magneto helmet. It's not too shiny, but it does have some gloss to it. And then all the different ice cream inside, they painted that as well. So it's a very basic paint job. So paint, this one has a lot of going on with the paint, but just like Wolverine, it's very basic, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. But obviously the black base, and then above that is the clear resin for the pool. And then I don't know if it's real pebbles in there. I would assume it's not, because they'd move around unless they're glued down. But I guess it has to be real pebbles. Otherwise that would be a hell of a painting job. And then the fish have a few different variations of light orange, dark orange, and some purplish or black on them. The duck, very flat paint all over it, with the beak, the eyes, the straps, the yellow, very flat. Not really a lot to it, not a lot of detail or overlay or texture. Deadpool himself, very similar. They did a good job painting around the texture and maintaining that. They have pretty much black and red and the green splotch, and then the accessories have a few different colors, the browns and gold. And his boots, the black and red as well. So they really stuck with that. It doesn't look bad, it's just, again, very basic. White eyes. So that summarizes my review on these two fatties, and I'm very excited to get the third installment, which is a fat bat. So if you have a PhD, you can probably figure out which comic character that is. If you enjoyed this, please give me a like, please subscribe. I have some really cool pieces that I will be reviewing within the next week or two that no one's as cool as these fat boys, but they're pretty neat. So I really appreciate you watching. Take care.